Dead Rising, I'm going to put on worth a playthrough. They're fun games, especially the first one was rough for me because it's single player, and it's literally built. Dead Rising is a game built for you to get to a certain point and die, but you've leveled up to that point, and then you start the game all the way back over and try and get further, and you're leveling up and going through again, and then you die, you start back over and get a little bit further, and the game's got a time limit to it. And then the second one was the same, but they made it 2 players, so it at least made it fun. Me and a buddy played through 2, had an amazing time. Then me and another buddy went out and bought 3 for the Xbox One, which I think I still own. But we never, like, we played the beginning of it, but then never continued it because it's just not his style of game. And then Dead Rising 4, I played the shit out of. Amazing game. Love the franchise. Fable, I'm going to put under worth a playthrough. Fable's one of those kind of games that, like, once you play it once, you're done. For the most part. Fable 3 is the only one I think I stepped back into Albion in. But it was good. God of War. The new God of War, which is God of War 4, if you want to be technical, is another game that's probably in my top 5 favorite games of all time. But literally every other God of War behind that, I've only ever had to play once and I'm okay. I didn't find the gameplay to be absolutely drop dead amazing. I didn't find the story to be like edge of your seat type of story. But God of War 4 stepped its game up in ways that it was in a completely different series. It was heartfelt. There was a story that you literally felt truly pulled into, and the flip at the very end with Atreus was just excellent. I'm going to put it under not the best, but would play again, just because of we're judging them as franchises here. And God of War as a franchise is not the best. Even if God of War 4 is one of the best, it's not the best franchise. Outlast, I'm going to put under worth a playthrough. Outlast, survival horror. I love me some survival horror, but as far as Outlast goes, I don't like the type of survival horror where it's always running around trying to just avoid something without any way to fight back. I know you technically get to fight back in the very end, but you're not really fighting back. You're still running from whatever it is that's chasing you. But, I mean, it had a couple of good jump scares. Scared the shit out of me a couple times. CSGO? Never played it. Left 4 Dead? And that's actually Counter-Strike as a series. I've never played any of the Counter-Strikes. Left 4 Dead, I've never played Left 4 Dead. I own Left 4 Dead 2. If any of you guys ever want to play it with me, we can set up a time. Let's go. But I've never played Left 4 Dead 2. Final Fantasy, best of the best in terms of franchises. You want to talk about a game that turned a company around? For those of you that don't know the history of Final Fantasy, let me give you a really quick, brief rundown. Squaresoft was on its way out. It was about to go bankrupt. There was nothing they were going to, there was no way they were coming back from what they were about to have to go through. And then they put out Final Fantasy. You know what Final Fantasy did? The very first Final Fantasy, and that's why it's called Final Fantasy, because it was going to be the final game that Squaresoft ever put out. Turned it around. Became a huge... That one game became so huge, it completely pulled them out of debt. Turned them around. They went on to make some of the best RPGs of all time, whether you like JRPGs or not. The numbers don't lie there. I've got my Final Fantasies I don't really like. And then I've got my favorites. My favorite's 8, always will be 8. Unless they've put out a game that changes my mind, but they've not come close in years. Final Fantasy 15, didn't really like all that much. Final Fantasy 14 was a fun MMO. And great for MMO standards, but didn't really feel like a Final Fantasy game other than the looks of some of the characters. And then you've got your other games that are like... Final Fantasy 12 and 11 was another online MMO. 12 and 13, 10 was good, but I got stuck in it because I was not good at Blitzball, and I was at a point where I had to win a game of Blitzball. And I didn't really enjoy that little mini game on there near as much as Triple Triad from 8. 9, I will be streaming at some point because I do want to get through it, and I own it on the Switch. 8, my favorite of all time. 7, one of my least favorites of all time. I think it's way overhyped. I don't think the story is even all that good. Sephiroth is a villain. there's only so much. I've been so tuned out to villains that are like villains because they feel betrayed by their country type of storyline that it didn't affect me. It didn't make me feel any kind of way. Don't get me wrong, Sephiroth as a character, as far as his fighting style and things like that, is badass. His motives to me are weak for a villain. You want to know what kind of villains I like in most of my games? I like the type of villains that are like the Joker, that are like Carnage, that are just insane. They're doing what they do just because they love to cause chaos. There's no other reason. It wasn't because they were raised in a shitty situation. It wasn't because felt like they've been betrayed. They're just crazy. And you know why I like crazy? I like crazy because crazy brings on unpredictability. And it definitely brings up some moral issues, because look at Batman with the Joker. Kefka's another one, by the way, that's a Final Fantasy villain that I love. He literally wants to blow up the world, even though he knows it'll take him with it, just because he wants to. But look at the Joker with Batman. Batman doesn't kill. But since he doesn't kill Joker, and Joker continues to break out and kill so many people, had Batman just killed one person, think how many lives he would have saved in the long run. But him as a hero, he knows he cannot be the one to kill Joker, because then that'll make heroes look bad, and plus there's just moral obligations to not do it. It brings on situations like that. That's what I love in my stories. Not, oh, I don't agree with what my government's doing, so I'm going to become a villain. For Honor, I don't believe should even be on this list. They've got one game. I'm going to put on Worth a Playthrough. It's actually a really good game, one of my favorite online fighters. But they just haven't put out enough for me to be able to say, yeah, this is definitely amongst the best. Great game, though. Check it out. Prince of Persia. Never played Prince of Persia, although I guess technically I have. If you've played Assassin's Creed and you know about a little bit about Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed was actually going to be Prince of Persia Assassin. But as they continued to develop the game and they developed the story, they realized they had something they could do as far as their own story for their own game. Mass Effect, Worth a Playthrough for me. That's going to break a lot of your guys' hearts. I put that just because I've only played and beaten one. And I liked it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't feel so in love with it that I felt like I needed to go and play 2. And a lot of you guys are really going to be mad now that you heard that, because I know a lot of you guys think 2 is the best in the series. I would be willing to go back and play it, just to play through 2. Once again, it was just a huge time thing. I didn't have the time. FIFA is going to go in not for me. It's going to go in not for me. I'm just not a soccer fan. Or, I'm sorry, football. I'm not a football fan. I'm just not a soccer fan. It's not my thing. Again, that and it's made by EA Sports. EA can suck one. Grand Theft Auto is going to go on not the best, but would play again. Grand Theft Auto is one of those games that once I play through the story, I don't spend too much time on online, because typically by the time I finish the story and I get to online, people are so far in online, I can't hang. They've already got rocket launchers and this and that, and I just spend the rest of my time getting blown the fuck up. Guitar Hero. I'm going to put Guitar Hero not for me, and for different reasons. I'm putting Guitar Hero not for me because Rock Band is on this list, and I thought Rock Band was a much better franchise than Guitar Hero as a whole. I think both games went a little stupid for a while, where they were just putting out a super bunch amount of different just mini games within their genres that just wasn't necessary. But Guitar Hero was cool when it came out, because yeah, I get to play the guitar. But then Rock Band, it started as a full band setup, and I love to do vocals, and that's what I did, and I did it well in the video game. And that's what I liked most about Rock Band. But yeah, Guitar Hero is just not for me. I'm not good at guitar. I can play some songs on hard. On Rock Band, there's one song I can play on expert, whether it's guitar or bass. I can actually play it on expert on drums, and I can play it on expert in vocals. It's the only song I can expert on everything. And it's all the small things from Blink-182. Fun times. Halo. Halo goes under not the best, but would play again, just because I love the franchise as a whole, and I can't wait for the next game to come out. I still think Halo 4 is my favorite in the series. I know a lot of you guys didn't like what 343 did with the games, but I actually loved how they actually made me feel bad for a computer AI dying. Oh, spoiler. I'm sorry. Was I late on that? If you haven't played it by now, I don't care. Assassin's Creed is my favorite video game franchise of all time. I'm not even going to go into details. Best of the best for me. Infamous as a series is worth a playthrough. I don't think they're amazing games, but I don't think they're not for me style of games. Second Son, gameplay-wise, is my favorite in the series. Story-wise, it's a little lackluster, but that's where we'll leave it. Jak and Daxter is going to go under never played it. Jak and Daxter was just not my style of game at the time when it came out.